Now I'm back, unmuted. Hi, everybody. So it's us again, and I've got a new partner in crime helping me with a delegate steering committee member role. Ari, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ari Wilkins. I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm also representing the Dallas Public Library.
Great, thank you. And Susan and Dawn are back with us, but they have flipped roles. So they're doing something different than they did last time just to keep this interesting and exciting for them, keep them on their toes. So we wanted to do just a really quick round robin of kind of what you heard and a chance to chat about it a bit. So if our tech team could throw up, and you're going to need your Slido again. Remember, you're going to need this throughout the rest of the afternoon. So we'll give you a minute to get your Slido back open and up. And Tech, if you can go ahead and get us to the first question. There we go. It's a beautiful thing when it happens. All right. So the question is, what are the pathways to share events, issues, and successes with the NGS community?
Just a quick reminder, don't forget to make sure you're in Group C.
Thank you. Group C. Yes, indeed. Look like we got folks on it already. They picked up this technology fast. Give it another minute or two. Oh, I see people changing their minds. Great.
Crowd pressure.
Yeah, right. Looks like we have just about everybody back in and on. And yes, the answer there is all of the above. Lots of ways to communicate within the organization and in your role as a delegate council member. So lots to help us do what we do and get ideas and learn from each other. Great. Let's just go right on to question number 2. Here's one. What can delegates expect from NGS in terms of communication? A couple of options here. Okay. Someone's got to be interested in the 1890 US Census population. Great, I think we have just about everybody. So as you heard, this really is a commitment in terms of how we're going to work together, in terms of what you can expect from, there, Janice wants it. We'll find a way to get that to you, Janice. Expectation about what you can expect from NGS and what they can expect in terms of how we communicate as the delegate council up to and within NGS. So let's go ahead on to question 3. We're on such a roll here. Who are the main resources for facilitating communications within NGS? Okay, you're getting fast on your fingers now with this Slido, I can see. Great. And nobody chose the Ministry of Magic. We have a few more questions, answers like this as we go through the afternoon to see who's paying attention. And correct, D, B, and C are correct. So thank you very much. Any questions on this area or kind of what you heard in the presentation? If you could take me back to full gallery view, please. Just want to give you guys a chance if there's something that just didn't quite get. Carol, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a communication problem. I'm an individual member. I'm the delegate from our society, and the confusion of the emails coming from NGS, some go to me, some go to the administrator, some go to the organization. and some go to me as the delegate. I tried to have two separate emails, but it's so confusing to know what's directed at me as a delegate, what is the administrator getting that the delegate isn't getting, or vice versa, and what is the organization getting as an organizational member. It's really confusing.
Wow, that is a really great question. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to answer that today, or if anyone on with us from the Delegate Steering Committee can answer that, I'll give them a moment. But these exact types of questions we're going to take back, get answers to, or some clarification and share with everybody, because I definitely hear the concern. It's too much and it's not clear what's going where, to help you respond and know what's directed in there. Let me just get to Ari and see if she has any comment on that.
Oh, Dawn, it looks like Dawn has an answer for us.
Oh, great.
Well, not a total answer, but I could say that right now in the last couple of weeks, you've probably been a little inundated. That's because of the influx of conference emails and reminders. So that's where some of it is, or some of that is generally canvassed to all the organizational members and to make sure everyone knows what's going on. And yeah, definitely as far as delegate and admin, there have been a few hiccups with the management system of some of that. And yeah, I will definitely pass along that we need to.
It's not that it's too much email. It's that I don't know who's getting what. And as the delegate, I thought originally I was the liaison between our organization and NGS, but there actually are at least 3 liaisons: the delegate, the administrator, and CGSI, the organization itself. I guess maybe if emails to the delegates had delegate as part of the content, so you knew this was a delegate only email or something like that. It just, I don't know what I need to share or think about sharing, or some things get shared 3 different times because 3 different people are getting it and don't know.
Right.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I like that idea.
Right. I saw Catherine, were you about to say something? I saw you.
Yes. Well, I will definitely apologize for any confusion. We definitely have had issues even identifying who the delegates are and the admins are for the different organizations. So bear with us. That is a great suggestion. And we definitely will try to tighten things up and make it more clear about who's doing what and who should get what communication. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we will definitely work on that.
Great point. And as we go through our day together, go ahead, Karen.
Another question along those same lines is, why did you separate the delegate and the admin? Because some of the societies are so small, they can't get people to fill the 2 different positions. Because at FGS, the delegate and the admin, they did everything and it all came to one location. So now it's separated into 2 different entities.
Great point. I see Dawn helpfully raising her hand again.
Sure. Yeah, it is confusing to have 2 roles, but it's actually a safeguard your organization. If for some reason or another your delegate or your admin no longer is involved in your society or organization for whatever means, then you have someone else to fall back on that can access your membership account. So, but in small groups or organizations, if you don't have enough people, it can be the same person. It's just recommended that it's 2 people for that safeguard for one of the reasons, and just for, it's then also supposedly when we get communications, straightened out a little bit for dissemination of information as well. And Catherine, did you want to add to any of that?
No, I think that really covers it, Dawn. I will say that again, we're really moving towards a much more expanded delegate role than we had when I was a delegate at FGS. So, because you have a voice and a vote, and we have this council, and we'll be meeting regularly through the year. We're hoping that the delegate has a more expanded role. So, they may not be the one that wants to be responsible for the administrative duty. So I think it will be good in the long run to have 2 different people from your organization. But as Dawn said, we will definitely work with the smaller groups if it needs to be the same person.
Okay, thank you.
Great, and this is a really great example throughout our time together. If you've got any other questions and you want to throw them open in a forum like this, or if you want to capture them in the chat, we're taking all of that information to, again, understand what are the questions and how can we provide clarity to what questions you do have. So this is exactly why we're here together today, to sort through some of this and provide an avenue for some information sharing, but also to understand what do we need more clarity on that we at NGS headquarters can go back and help get sorted out and clarified for everybody. So perfect, thank you. So now we have just another polling question for you. If my tech colleagues can go ahead and put that up, that would be great. And so out of this, you're going to have a whole day's worth of information that you're going to gather from our time together this afternoon. So I assume you're going to put together a communication plan to talk about what you learned during the workshop and kind of what's your thought process about how in your organization you do that? What's your vehicle? What do you use commonly to, or could use to talk about what you learned? Well, the plan's really how do you communicate, right? How do you communicate what you learned over the course of the day internally in your own organization? So I assume there are a number of vehicles. There we go, written report, got it, exactly. Report to the board, yes, exactly the sort of thing we're assuming you might be doing, something like that. I see newsletter in there, yes indeed. Written report, verbal reports that go somewhere to someone, obviously when you gather or get together or have other vehicles to do that. Presentation to the board, absolutely, yes, similar to that. Great, let me go back to gallery view. Great, thank you very much. So that makes sense to everybody. You all work differently in your organizations about how this happens, but you are kind of that conduit, right? To I think Karen's point and Carol's point, you're that conduit from your organization to the delegate council and from the delegate council back to your organization. So this issue of how you communicate kind of what are the outputs of this event or any and all other outputs, and then how that gets communicated and disseminated down within your own organization and how you choose to do that. Let me turn to my DSC colleagues. Any other thoughts or comments on that? And is there anything in the chat relevant to this?
We're good on the chat right now. If you have any questions, you can either do them verbally or type them.
Great. So lots of ways to be able to share this information. Then let's go ahead and go to question number 2. So we're back to Slido, please. So here we go. What's the value you believe your organization will receive from you serving as the delegate? What's that value your organization will receive? Great, give a few more folks to dial in, put in their thoughts. Great. Excellent. Let's go back to gallery view if we could. So who'd like to talk about this? In other words, what's what you said is your key value. How would you articulate that? If you were sitting at your board when you go back, how would you articulate this is what I'm bringing. This is what I'm getting, and this is what the value is to our organization. Who wants to give that a go? Somebody's got to have their hand up here. There we go, Mags. Yeah, 2 hands. Love it.
Networking, absolutely. Collaboration, network, sharing the knowledge base that is outside the realm of what our knowledge base is. You know, we're a bunch of computer geeks doing what we do in our own little insular world, yet we have a nonprofit that we also have to keep running and raise money and get members and get volunteers that are capable. And we don't have that in our realm. So being a part of this is going to help us learn from everybody else that already knows how to do this. This is just an incredible, great thing for us.
Right, the combined wealth of information that's represented on
Yes.
this screen, let alone the broader, all the other organizations, right? I love
Absolutely.
the 2 sides to that. So you mentioned education, and then I saw someone else use the word support, right? That idea that I'm
Yeah.
not in this alone. Our organization is not the only one dealing with these issues. So that sense that I am part of this bigger community, and there is the opportunity to learn all of this from the folks that are in the community, right? So kind of two
Absolutely.
sides to that same coin. Yep.
Thank you.
Who else would articulate the value that you think your organization will get out of this whole effort? Okay, so I start randomly calling on people shortly. So I'm just warning you. Val, there you go. Thanks for raising your hand.
Thanks. Yeah, what we're looking for right now, I mean, we've kind of undergone a period of transition. We cut back expenses for a few years to build back our endowment, and we're kind of looking for, I guess, communication with other organizations and some support right now to kind of get back on track and make some changes in our governing and operational structures. So that's, I think, what we're hoping to get. So thank you.
So that's interesting. And actually the conversation relates a little bit back to what I heard from our first breakout with this idea of strategic planning, which sounds to me a little bit about what you guys are dealing with, Val, right? This kind of, we've all been kind of really, what's our life been for like the last year and a half? And we've been running probably to just try and hold it all together. Or in some cases, what are we throwing over the side because it just isn't as important right now when we're trying to survive through this. So now is kind of the time when we're all starting to come back out of it to do, Val, I think what you're talking about. How do we plan forward? How do we prioritize what needs to get done given our resources or given what we're learning as a collective group? How do we bring some of that back? That we're all going through this together, but there are probably some learnings from folks who might have been just slightly ahead of us in this process. What can they tell us about how we go forward? Doug, welcome.
Doug Whisker from North San Diego County Genealogical Society. After we meet today, how is this initiative of communication going to continue? One idea might be a bulletin board on the NGS website for delegates to post ideas and best practices, so we're continually able to access new ideas.
Great idea. We will carry that forward with some other things that we're building, and you heard part of it as this the new Higher Logic site, member community site, that's going to help us integrate how and who we communicate with across the organization. Dawn, I saw your hand go up.
Right. I was actually just going to touch on that. Well, you heard Sam speak of Higher Logic, and that's going to be a member engagement platform. And in there, you'll be able to have conversations like you would on a Facebook group, but they'll be more focused. If you want to join a group that's talking about websites or fundraising, then you can receive the feed of conversation there. You can share your successes. You can learn from others, and just it will be a way to collaborate on a regular basis in between the meetings, you know, and a free platform for you. So we're really looking forward. That will kick off hopefully late this summer.
But currently, we still do have the NGS Society and Organization Leaders Forum on Facebook that we can continually talk about it currently, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That is currently active and will remain active for quite a while. So that's a great place for a go-to right now.
I'll just add, if I can insert myself here, Greg, that the advantage of Higher Logic will be it is so much more easily searched. For example, sometimes it's hard to find things on Facebook. You know you saw it in there, but getting back to it can be challenging. So with the Higher Logic platform, it's going to allow you to really interact, go back and just search for a particular topic or a discussion about a particular item. And there'll be engagement on it for individual members as well. So we foresee groups for people that are interested in Greek genealogy research or, you know, some other aspect for individuals. So it's going to be very robust. It'll be available to our individual members and our organizational members. It will not be hosted on the website. So it'll be in the Higher Logic platform, but it'll be accessible from the website. And it will, in many ways, act like the bulletin board that you were talking about, Doug.
Great, thanks, Catherine. Doug, you look like you had a follow-up question.
I was just wondering if that was going to be available only to delegates or to all members, and Catherine answered that question.
Great. Who else has a comment or a thought relative to the value to your organization from this process? Vicki, good morning and welcome.
Thank you. I'm with the Illinois State Genealogy Society. I'm on the board. I'm also the president of our local society. And as everybody's saying, we're all suffering the same type of things. But I'm looking to come back with what's working for others that maybe we can use ourselves. Everybody, you're right, has the same problem. Membership, keeping it, you know, the older ones are passing away and the younger ones just don't seem to be interested in it. So, and, you know, fundraising, especially now with COVID, and we're really concerned with what's going to happen when we go back to in person, because we're going to have a hybrid. And I'm the technology person for this, and I'm not sure I'm up to hybrid. So I want to see what everybody else is doing.
Right. So that whole idea of kind of what are the best practices, right? What don't I need to relearn because somebody here in this room has already learned it, and I can really just take that and apply it. Rather than try and figure it all out on my own. So that's great. That idea of best practices are just ideas, because it may be an idea that works in one organization, but you can all of a sudden think about how you can take that idea and turn it to do what you're trying to do, or how you would apply it in your organization. So that idea of using the communication links and the flow to be able to make that happen. Exactly. So Ari, any other thoughts relative to kind of communication here in terms of what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go?
I don't have anything specifically that I can think of right this minute.
Cool. Well, then let me check with my chat monitor. Anything going on down there in chat that we haven't already addressed?
You're muted, Don.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with it clicking. There are too many screens going on here because my mouse doesn't know where to go. Just some questions about administrators as far as managing your account for NGS. So I would recommend logging onto your organization's profile, and there is where you designate who your administrator is, who your delegate is. Make sure you have current email addresses for both of those people, as well as current mailing address and any other contact information for your organization. And so that's where you'll be able to see who those different people are that are playing those roles in your program. And if you have problems logging in, you can contact membership at ngsgenealogy.org would be the best way to go. And they can guide you through.
Great. So any other challenges related to communication in your organization that we haven't already talked about? We've talked about the whole issue with technology related to it. We've talked about how we try and communicate with a couple different generations of folks that are involved. We talked about where to go get some help in our last session about how it can help you build out some of these issues regarding communications. I am a big believer in interns. We're a 50-person organization, but we use interns because A, they need the projects. B, they're a lot smarter than some of us professionals and can teach us something along the way. And you get kind of a pulse on what are they being taught in school, which can be good news, bad news, let me tell you. So, and if you reach out to any of your local institutions, they are desperate for organizations where they can plug in their students. And that can be in any number of these areas. We've used them for marketing communications. We've used them in accounting. We've used them in technology. So we've used them in all those areas that I'm hearing you need help. There's resources out there for you to be able to plug into. Go ahead, Sheila.
Do you pay your interns?
It really depends on what the situation is with the school. For many of them, it's no pay. They have to do it as a piece of their, to complete their coursework, and there's no pay. For others, they ask for some minimal donation or pay to support them, but not certainly at not a market rate, I can assure you of that. Great. Who else? Go ahead, Sheila. And then Carol, I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Sheila.
I was just going to say, do you get people for specific projects or over a long term, like a semester, like, you know, this person's going to help you with technology for the whole semester, or do you just look for people for specific projects?
Great question. I think generally they like to see a semester-long commitment so they know what to plan for and they know they've got that student kind of taken under control for this duration as opposed to a project base.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Carol, back to you.
Can I just slightly change the subject a bit?
We're here to change the subject anytime you want to.
I wanted to get back to what what NGS and being a member can do for our organizations, and no one's mentioned, but I want to mention the reviews of the website and of the newsletter and of the bylaws. Our organization used the bylaws and newsletter review and found it very helpful. It's, you know, it's a good resource available that I'd encourage people to take advantage of. Similarly, the white pages that I know they're being revamped, but we have found some useful ideas and tips, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel on some stuff there. So those are really useful, and I appreciate it. Our organization appreciates them.
That's great. Thank you, Carol. A really great opportunity there for free and to kind of get outside assistance really to your organization to look at some of those things with kind of a free review with tips and pointers. This issue around bylaws is kind of important. One of those nitty gritty organizational things that you kind of have to pay attention to every now and again and maybe figure if they haven't been looked at lately, it's probably time for an update, and you don't need to hire an expensive lawyer to do that. You can get a first look from someone within NGS, and Cheryl's asked, how do you access those services? Who from my colleagues with the Delegate Steering Committee can address that?
Well, that is a good question. Yeah, today was the day that we announced that Bobby King is going to continue doing the bylaws reviews. She is the person who was setting up that program for FGS previously. And our local society in Oakland, the California Genealogical Society, also took advantage of it. It is a very worthwhile service. Now, the how-to question, I'm not sure yet. I haven't actually looked at the website to see. Okay, go ahead, Dawn. Do you have the answer to that one?
Sure, yeah. So on the website, you go to the ngsgenealogy.org website, and you'll need to log into your account. So on the top under member login. That's the first step. If you're not logged in, you're not going to be able to see it. And you also need to be designated as your organization's delegate. So there's a couple steps you need to take before you can actually see the information and answer series and the other services there. So I'm just going to log into mine here real quick. And then once you're logged in, there is the top bar tabs. It's society and organizations. And then under the drop down there, you're going to go to society and organization resources. And there'll be left-hand menu items over there, and society information resources, you open that as a plus sign and you expand that, and you'll be able to see the different things which are listed under there. And that's where you can get to the information and answer series from that part. And as we mentioned, quite a few of those have been redone and updated.
Great. And
Okay,
why
thank you.
it's so critical is the thought process about bylaws has changed dramatically over the years. And it went from, those bylaws used to be the Bible. It was about yay thick and could cover every imaginable thing known to any organization that might happen. And the current thinking is you want to slim that down as much as possible. Nothing that relates to process, policy, or procedures should necessarily be in your bylaws, so that your board has total control of being able to make the changes it needs to make to run the organization. And the bylaws exist really just to cover the highest level things that need to be covered legally based on the state you're incorporated in. So, but that's been a wholesale change in organizational thinking and management over the course of probably the last 20, 25 years, which is why if you haven't taken a look at them for a while, it might not be a bad idea to take advantage of a free service to do that, to help you along. Newsletter, the same thing. Again, tips and tricks, right? You can see and have someone take a look at your newsletter and just everything from layout to, hey, here are some other sorts of things to include, and here's where you can go get them, right? Here's where you can find some of those things that you might want to include. We're always looking for content. Content's king. So where can we help share where some of that content's available for you to kind of boost up and goose up your newsletters? To make them as interesting as possible, and then start thinking about, okay, what is somebody else doing in their communications to address a different generation, a younger generation, right? So you can kind of start looking at this from that standpoint and start finding out who's got ideas for you and where can you start plugging those in. And hey, it's okay to take someone else's idea and apply it to what you're trying to do.
Since we're talking about resources, I wanted to point out one other new resource that was not available under FGS, but we've got a relationship now between NGS and BoardSource. Some of you may have used BoardSource. They have a lot of materials that are free, but with our contract with BoardSource, we've now got, I think, about 15 of their short publication papers. Some of them are just one sheet. But they're on all kinds of things that are helpful for governance of your boards. Everything from, there's some fundraising things about your executive committee, planning, strategy, diversity. So a lot of really good resources that are available to all of the delegates. And it's easy, you can download them. And I encourage you to take a look, because we can all use all the help we can get for navigating all these different responsibilities.
That's great. But this point of, to some questions I'm seeing in chat, right? Where do we go? Where are some of these resources? The good news is they're out there, and NGS has some of their own and also has these relationships with other organizations that can really bring additional value to what you're trying to do. And BoardSource is a great source. We use it for lots of our client information. It's highly respected out there, and a great piece to be able to bring to your board who's wrestling with a problem. Here's what national experts in nonprofit management have to say about X, and can really help some of the discussions get focused to where you need them to be, rather than all over the place, as we know can happen in some board discussions with strong opinions from people who don't necessarily know how nonprofits work. but have very strong ideas. What else? And is this helpful to you? Are we sharing information that's useful to what you're trying to do? Great. I'm seeing a couple of shaking heads. Mags is only one thumb. Last time she waved 2 hands, so we're doing okay. There we go. All right, now it's 2. So good. But that's what we wanted to be here today for, was make sure you walk away with real value from our time together, and not just actually learning some things about how this is going to work, but that you've got some takeaway value as well. Great. Let me just check with my chat monitor. Anything else on there we need to address?
There's just been a couple questions more about, basically, as you mentioned, where do I get this information? And once again, NGS website, and make sure you log into your account. And I did post the links in the chat box for the Society and Management Information link, as well as the one that goes to the board page for Board Source. And
right.
Let me see. So it's kind of and Carol has a comment about policy and procedure guidelines might be a good future paper to request through NGS. Yep, we'll definitely put that in, send that up to the board for please help.
Yeah, I think that could be really cool, right? That here's some wording on policies and procedures around X, whatever X is. And obviously always with the caveat, you've got to check to see what's legal and appropriate in your state. But here's some ways that could apply, again, to learn from others in terms of getting there. Great, seems like a natural additional add-on to some of the bylaw opportunities for review from that standpoint.
And as you were mentioning, Greg, as well as how the policies and procedures manual interacts or interrelates with the bylaws. And as you said, it's different by each state, but I think there's probably some generalities that could be said.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Ingeborg, welcome.
Okay, so good morning, Ingeborg Carpenter from Sacramento, California. I just want to make a general comment to all of this. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to actually put this delegate meeting together, because I think it is very helpful to be all of us to see each other and talk to each other. Thank you, Zoom, for making it possible. The other thing is, you know, we say we need volunteers, we need volunteers, we need volunteers, but the and probably NGS does as well. The problem, of course, is that all of our members come to us because they need help, not because they can say, I can be helpful. So they come for help, and then it's always just the same little group that can be helpful, and therefore also many that coming for help don't feel like necessarily like they have anything to offer in ways of being helpful rather than to taking help. So it's more of a taking than it is a giving. And so when it comes to NGS, you know, for years have we been paying dues, and we always felt that was in effect just a donation, because we never really got anything out of being a member of FGS or NGS. So now the question is, how can I go to my board and say to them and to the membership, let's continue paying the dues, because we're really getting a lot of help now. Of course, the help, this delegate meeting is wonderful, but it's still a bottleneck in a way, because it is one person then needing to go back to the board. How can we spread this getting help from NGS so that it isn't just depending on one person? We are sitting here, I'm sure, already do too many volunteer things as it is. So how can we get more help to everybody who is part of my society? You know, going to the website is good, but again, then it's, you know, just one person going. So there's a little bottleneck. What can we do? That's my dilemma at this point.
Let me see if Ari or Dawn want to tackle that.
I can say one thing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ari. I'm sorry.
I think that there's going to be more opportunities for communication as higher logic comes into play that's going to relieve some of that bottlenecking. That's my solution at this point. What did you want to say, Carol?
I was just going to say, I see myself as a conduit. And one of the things I did back in when we were members of FGS was just make a list of here's all the various questions. I think they're called issues and answers or questions and answers now. And I distributed it to the board members and to the executive committee and said, if anyone is interested in a particular paper, treasurer, if you're interested in the funding, let me know and I will direct the give you the paper. So yeah, it is a bottleneck, but you could be a conduit and not have to do all the work yourself. If you let people know, here's what's out there, let me know what you're interested in.
Dawn, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I really like Carol's suggestion there. And yeah, so all of those information and answer series white papers are available for you to download, and definitely share with your board that is meant to help and assist your organization